Hey, it's Mike over here at Rixen's Enterprises again. Today we're working on a 2020 Winnebago Revel. What we're going to be doing, the original Revel had a D5WS. That was one of our first generation heating systems. We've now moved on past the second, onto the third generation heating system the customer would like to upgrade. So, in order to upgrade these, it's fairly simple. You have to remove some components and add some components. Removing the diesel furnace, removing the fuel pump for the furnace, removing the harness for the furnace, adding the new furnace, adding the new fuel pump, adding the new harness, wiring in the control box and the controller, hooking up some relays, so instead of having an electric switch for hot water on and off on the wall, it'll all be built into the controller. And then obviously we don't have to, but we drain the fluid out. It just makes things easier instead of having fluid around the system. And obviously as we go through, we'll kind of give you a step-by-step on how to do this and what we're doing, what it looks like. And then we'll show you the finished product and see where it goes from there. So here we have the 4-switch remote and the thermostat, which both these components will be being removed. This, again, we can remove it, but then he'll have an open hole in the wall, so we're not sure what we're going to do with this, but it'll no longer be a functioning switch. So this component, that component, they're going to be going. You got to unmount the reservoir here, get underneath it, fix some stuff there, move some stuff around. So first off, it's right here in front of me. On the old furnace, D5WS controls, the 4-switch remote is what controlled everything. So all the pump and fan, all the wires had to go to this to control the fans and the pumps and everything else in the heating system. Now that's all done through Wi-Fi. So all you need at this panel is power and ground, which you have on pin number 1 and 2. Ground is 1 here, power is 2. If you grab this green block here and hold on to the board, you can kind of wiggle back and forth this way. This one's extremely tight, but got that off. So now you can get rid of your board, not have any wires just bouncing around live. Kind of saves you from worrying about messing something up. On this customer setup, I don't know. Again, I have to talk to the customer and see if they want to get rid of this right now, or if they want to make me to make a little plate for it, something to cover this old hole. Because if not, you're going to have a useless thermostat that's not being used, or you're going to have just a little plate to try to cover this. Options for the customer. But as we got this out, we now know we're not going to use any of these wires here. Up here, they're all going to get used down below, except for these two here. That's your power and ground. That's all you need to go to the new controller. Controller now connects to all the other components via Wi-Fi. So now that we've kind of got that set out, again, we've drained the fluid out of the system. It just makes it a little easier. On the Comfort Hot, not a whole lot changes with this tank itself, but because the customer is getting the upgrade, instead of having to turn the electric on and off with a switch, Now we're going to wire it directly to the breaker, and the switch will actually be what's called a relay, a switching relay that we're going to put in inside this box. And what that's going to do for us is allow us to control the electric element with the new controls via Wi-Fi with your phone. So now that we got this open, obviously anytime you're opening this Comfort Hot, you want to make sure that the power's off. You're not plugged into shore power. There's no 110 power. And then at that point, we have this opened up, that opened up. We can start removing all these extra wires here that we're not going to be using, getting them in the Winnebago. Everything's zip tied together, so basically you're just going to tuck it back into the wall. They're going to be unused. Then we can open up some stuff down here, find a home for our power box. We'll start wiring it up, and then we'll be back with you here in a minute and show you where we're at. So in order to control the Comfort Hot's electric element, we need to use this relay. And basically this relay interrupts the 110 power going to the element with a switch controlled by 12 volt. And that's how our control panel controls this. So with the original Rebel, there wasn't one. And so we need to add one. And so what we're going to do here, we are going to find a home for this first. What I normally do is I'll take a little drill bit here and punch a little hole in the box. Then we can take and run our wire out of the hole. Now I will take double-sided sticky tape here. Sometimes this stuff's not very easy to peel. I'm going to double-sided sticky tape that right inside there like so. And so now what you have is looks like a mess in here, but if you fold these back, you basically have one wire that comes out of the element that plugs into this aquastat here. And so now, instead of it going that way, we're going to take one of the jumpers off the relay, go to the aquastat. The jumper that came off the element that originally went to the aquastat is going to go to the other pin on the relay that I buried. Oh, that's why this double-sided sticky tape is kind of nice. You can just pop it off if you need to. Okay, so now we have basically power comes in, high limit, out of the high limit aquastat into the cycling aquastat, out of the cycling into our relay, out of our relay to the element. That becomes our switch point. Get that stuck back on there. Once you got that all completed, this box can actually go back on now. There's nothing that's needed to stay off for. All right, we took a little break there. We noticed there was a water leak that we had to fix. We lifted up the Comfort Hot and we removed the circulation pump that was underneath this Comfort Hot. Got my new circulation pump, the Quiet Pump by Rixen. Nice, put together, kind of ready to put back in. At this point, I'm going to remove the short loop long loop that these Rebels had. There's a solenoid valve that's down underneath here. And I think we're going to get rid of that. We don't truly see a big benefit to having it, and it kind of complicates things. So basically I'm pulling the screws around this panel to hopefully lift up this panel enough and be able to get to the solenoid valve. Get this guy out. Won't need it anymore. You have an altimeter here. You won't need this anymore. Got a code reader here. Won't need that anymore. And this relay here that controls the solenoid valve down here. You won't need that either. So we're gonna get rid of as much of this old stuff as we can that we don't need. We also got to repair a water leak there. It's been leaking, and then we'll get back to you. All right, we're back at it here. So we have pulled the wires out of the back of this switch and bridged around them. Got rid of this switch, so it's no longer functioning. Pulled the 4-switch remote off. If you pan around the edge here, you can see right back over here, I've installed the external sensor because the new controller doesn't have a sensor built in, so you have to use an external sensor. So I've put one in here. This is my wire here for the external sensor. I got it running down below. I just hadn't pulled it all the way through yet. So that'll be my external sensor wire. Down below in here, what I've done, let's see how we can get a good look at this. So I've put, I don't know how well you can see this, but I've put a cap and a brass plug on here. Plug off that T, and then on the other side over here, I've put another cap and a brass plug to get rid of that solenoid valve and eliminate the long loop. So that's done. I've added the relay to the Comfort Hot. Got my wiring extended out, a little more than what I need, but more is always better. I've ripped out all the old wiring for the pump and everything that's down there on the floor that I took out here, such as the code reader, altimeter, relay harness. All these are old, not being used. So now I need to put the new pump in. You always want the newer quiet pump, so I'll put the new pump in. We will remount the Comfort Hot. I have the furnace mounted down below. I think you've probably seen some of that already. Got the furnace mounted down below. My harness from the furnace has now been ran from down below up through the floor, and if you look back here, there's a rubber boot where Winnebago puts all their wires through, and basically I just poked my own little hole in there, ran a snake down through it. Once I got the snake to go through, tied the wire off, pulled the wire back through. All the old wires, we're just cutting those off and leaving them. They're all zip tied in, but they're not going to be hooked to anything anymore, and you can't really get it out unless you want to drop the gray tank. So just cut it off, leave it there, forget about it. And so now we'll remount this Comfort Hot and reinstall the pump and remount the Comfort Hot tank. That'll give us a little bit more room in here once we get this stuff all mounted up. Figure out where we're going to put our power box and the rest of our components in here. So at this point we have the furnace mounted down below. We have the furnace harness ran and hooked up. We have the new furnace fuel pump mounted and hooked up. The new air intake pipe mounted and hooked up. So furnace is pretty much done. Harness is ran up here. Box is out. I know that I have power and ground here and here. So I marked these wires my own special way to know that these are power and ground. That's what I'm going to feed my new panel with. I haven't talked to the customer yet to see what they want to do with this panel. If they just want to take it off and put a little plate, if they just want to leave it, whatever the customer chooses. Same with that component. Our new panel will cover this hole, so I won't have to worry about the hole where the 4-switch remote came out of. At that point, we're now just going to button up this pump, get some hoses hooked up, and then I got to hook up all the wiring. And once I get all the wiring hooked up and the board in there, I'll bring you back to show you the controller mounted and everything else mounted. So what I've done here, there's a fuse panel here. If you look at this fuse panel, it's got one side's all the grounds, one side's all the power. So find one that is empty for power. Find one that's empty for your ground. The grounds are the white wires, the power is the yellow wires. And I have added my power and ground here. It'll be a fused source that goes to this wire, and that's what I'm going to feed my main control box with. So I've ran my sensor wire down. I've ran my power wire across. I've eliminated the solenoid valve. Now I have my fan wire somewhere here. This is my fan power and ground there. So at this point I really could put this whole inverter assembly back in the hole here. one way or another. Oh, I see what has to happen here. Okay, get that inverter assembly back down there. Pull my rag out. We had a little fresh water leak earlier. Okay, so now I got my circulation pump, my relay from the Comfort Hot, my furnace harness, my power and ground for the box. My fan connections are going to be here. So that's pretty much all I'm going to need. So now I need to mount my power box and start plugging in wires. So again, we'll button this stuff up. Once we get done buttoning this up and everything's hooked up, I'll then show you what the controller looks like mounted, the box looks like mounted. Again, your best bet would be to look at the wiring diagram. And we can try to video this, but it's not going to come out very well. So in order to truly understand the instructions of how to wire it up, where the pump goes, what circuit goes to what, just look at the diagram. This video is more or less just showing you how the components come out, how the components go in, where they go, not so much the details of hooking up and every little detailed wire. If you want that stuff, just go to the website, download the PDF. It tells you all the wiring schematics, pin out what number goes where. That'll be your best bet to make sure it gets done right. Okay, so now the inverter's back and mounted. Fuse panel's got wire tied onto it. All that's set, all that's good. So now we will take the new Rixen harness and the power box here. Power boxes, if you just kind of flex down on this edge over here and kind of pick up, cover will pop off. I have cut the other end off because I don't want to try to pull the plug through when I was snaking it through the bottom of the rig. I didn't want to try to have to pull the plug through because sometimes plugs being bigger than the wire itself get stuck along the way. So what I'll do here is I'll cut and strip all these back. So now that we got that, sorry. Take this lead here, and run it over, down and around. It just reads your ambient air temperature, which is reading 68 degrees. As soon as you touch the screen, you can see it's 68 degrees in here. My set temp is off, thermostat's off. Right now I'm running furnace and hot water. You can still check your diagnostics, so you can see all your fault codes, what kind of diagnostics you're reading. You can change your presets if you want certain things to come on or certain things to come off. You can now, instead of having to use this potato switch, you can actually trigger the electric element with just a button here. And again, all this can be done off your phone. So you can actually log in on your phone here, be laying in bed in the back, and set your temperature, turn up and down your temperature, turn on and off the electric, turn on and off the diesel. All your settings you can do here. You can do the same thing on a cell phone or a tablet in the back or in your house. If you're sitting in your house and you want to start the heater before you get out to the rig and have it nice and warm before you go for your ride, you can turn all this on from your phone in the house. Another benefit to this, the old system only had 2 fan speeds. You had high and low, where now, if I enable the thermostat, okay, set temps 80, 10% fan speed, takes a second, like a 10-second delay or something. Fans won't blow until the temperature gets up in the system, so that's part of that. So now, before, what used to happen with these systems is when you turn the system on, turn the thermostat on, it would start blowing cold air right off the bat. And not until the system started to warm up would the actual warm air start to be produced. This won't blow cold air. It won't blow any air until the antifreeze in the system gets up to like 110 or 120. Fahrenheit. So right now we're at 105 on the outlet and 73 on the inlet. So we got a couple more minutes and then it'll let our fans run. But yeah, so we got the power box mounted, new furnace mounted, fluid in the reservoir, new pump, cleaned everything up. We still got to button up some wiring and kind of actually clean things up. But we got a lot of wiring out, old remote out. I still, like I said, have to talk to the customer about figuring out what to do with these two panels. Yeah, you can see here, these are our main connectors. And again, it's just kind of laying here right now. I haven't finished anything or actually like button anything up because I want to test the system, make sure everything's working properly. But after you've done your tests, you're confident everything's working, button it up and be done with it. Now you have much more control over your heater, much more visibility on what's going on with it, why it's doing what it's doing, how it's doing what it's doing, and being able to control it not only from the screen here, but from your phone or a tablet or anything. As long as you're within about 100 feet from the rig, you'd be able to control it. Well, I don't think the system's hot enough yet to trigger that fan. There, just right when I was saying that, the fan's kicked on. So now you can actually set your fan to auto by clicking the temperature, the percentage. So it's at 10% right now. If you click percentage, it goes to auto. Auto would be the closer it gets to the set temperature, the slower the fan's going to run. Or you can manually have it set. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you'd like to upgrade to one of these, let us know. We can get you a kit sent out or we can schedule you in. We can do it for you. I think the cost is right around $3,000. If you want to buy the parts, obviously cheaper by about $400 or $500. Feel free to contact us anytime, Rixens.com, or give us a call, 503-668-6090. Thank you.